Before he walked on water, before he calmed storms, before crowds followed him across deserts, Jesus was a child, a boy with a home, a family, and yes, friends. Today we travel back in time to discover what Jesus' childhood really looked like and who walked beside him long before the cross. Even though the Bible doesn't give a full biography, it gives strong, meaningful details. Here's what we know from Scripture, history, and Jewish culture of his day. Let's start at Nazareth, a tiny village tucked into the hills of Galilee, a place so small that people mocked it. Can anything good come from Nazareth? Yet this is where Jesus' story begins. Here houses stood close together. Neighbors lived like family. Children ran through narrow streets barefoot, chasing one another, laughing, playing common games of Jewish childhood. And among them was young Jesus, the boy who carried eternity in his eyes. But to most, he looked completely ordinary. Jesus would have played with neighborhood children, attended synagogue school, helped with household chores, learned scripture from a young age. Joseph, his earthly father, was a tekton, a builder, craftsman, a man who worked with stone and wood. From a young age, Jesus would rise with the sun, help with tools, sweep the workshop, and learn the trade. Jesus would have learned craftsmanship, physical labor, responsibility, skill, and patience. He grew strong hands, not soft ones, hands that would one day heal the sick and carry the weight of a cross. Villagers would look at him and say, "Is this not the carpenter?" He understood fatigue, sweat, and hard work, the human experience from the inside out. Jesus knew hunger, tiredness, work, learning, friendship, temptation, but he never sinned. Luke 2:52 tells us, Jesus grew in wisdom, stature, and in favor with God and man. This one verse summarizes his whole childhood. Wisdom, he learned scripture deeply. Stature, he grew physically like any child. Favor with God, he had a close relationship with God from childhood. Favor with man, he was well-behaved, respectful, and admired. At age 12, Jesus stayed behind in the temple, discussing scripture with teachers who were amazed by him. He already fully understood his purpose. At age 12, on a visit to Jerusalem for the Passover, Jesus slipped away from Mary and Joseph. Where was he? In the temple, discussing scripture with the teachers. They were astonished. His questions, his understanding, his confidence. When his parents finally found him, he simply said, "Did you not know I must be about my Father's business?" This moment reveals the truth. He always knew who he was, even as a child. Every Jewish boy attended synagogue school. Jesus would sit in circles with other children, reciting the Torah, listening to the rabbis, asking questions deeper than his age would suggest. But there was something different about him. Even as a boy, he carried a quiet authority, a wisdom that stirred curiosity in everyone who heard him. Contrary to popular imagination, Jesus wasn't an only child. He had brothers, James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas. He also had sisters, though not named, but there were several, Mark 6:3. Imagine the house, children laughing, shouting, helping Mary with chores, sharing meals at a crowded table, and Jesus in the middle of it all. He lived a full human family life, the noise, the joy, the responsibility. Jesus had friends before his ministry and many close friends during it. His inner circle of friends were Peter, James, and John. They were his closest companions. They saw the transfiguration, which the others didn't see. He also had the 12 disciples, his partners, brothers, friends. He had his beloved friends in Bethany, Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, a home where he was welcomed, loved, and understood. Lazarus was called the one you love. Jesus stayed with them often, ate with them, shared life with them, and wept at Lazarus's grave, showing us how deeply he felt friendship. Children loved him, they ran to him, sat on his lap, laughed around him. And there are others like John the Baptist, who was more than a prophet. He was a ministry partner, Jesus' cousin and friend. Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus, who were respected men who supported Jesus. Then there were the women who followed him, Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Susanna, loyal companions who traveled with him and funded his ministry. Jesus was approachable, warm, and full of joy. Luke gives one of the most powerful summaries of his youth. Jesus grew in wisdom, stature, and in favor with God and man. He developed mentally, physically, spiritually, socially. He lived the full human experience so he could understand ours. Jesus didn't appear in the world as a distant king. He came as a child. He learned, worked, laughed, played, studied, and loved. So when he calls you friend, he speaks from experience. When he says he understands your struggle, he truly does, because he lived our life so he could save our souls. The Bible doesn't give a full biography, but it gives strong, meaningful details. Here's what we know from Scripture, history, and Jewish culture of his day. In summary, yes, Jesus had many friends, disciples, childhood companions, Mary, Martha, Lazarus, and more. His childhood was normal yet spiritually extraordinary. He worked, learned, helped his parents, and grew into wisdom and divine purpose. He experienced human life fully so he could relate to us completely. If you love content like this, kindly subscribe and come back for more Bible stories.